Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an investigative report about a message that got seriously lost in translation over 2,000 years. So, what happens when the original sender finally asks for a status update? Well, let's find out. Okay, so here's where it all kicks off. We have a figure known as the Savior, and he's giving his scout a pretty specific assignment. The mission? Report back on humanity's progress. But pay close attention to the words here. He doesn't ask, how many people believe in me? He asks if they've mastered healing, miracles, casting out demons. These are active skills, not just beliefs. And right there, that's the absolute core of the original mission. This was never about building a fan club. Think of it more like a curriculum for empowerment, a roadmap designed to teach humanity how to tap into its own divine potential. But here's the first huge problem. The Savior realizes that somewhere along the line, the focus shifted completely to his suffering and his death. The whole point was to create empowered people who were learning and growing. Instead, it seems like it just created passive spectators watching a tragedy unfold, turning a how-to guide for power into a simple story about pain. So the scout comes back from Earth with his report, and this is where the gap between what was hoped for and what actually happened becomes, well, it's not a gap, it's a canyon. What he found was just staggering. I mean, just look at this comparison. It lays the whole disconnect bare, right? The Savior was hoping for news channels reporting on miracle healings. What the scout finds is news focused on crime and disaster. The hope was for an end to all wars. The reality is humanity has built weapons that can literally destroy the planet. And that mission to master mystical powers? Yeah, that got traded for mastering social media and AI. Now, the scout says it's not a complete wash. Some of the basic moral ideas did make it through. You know, the Savior calls it a good basic start. But while these are obviously important, they're just the preface to the book. It's like everyone read the introduction and then just stopped. The main chapters are completely gone. And this is the big moment of realization. The Savior's reaction isn't just disappointment. It's genuine shock. I mean, look, forgetting a few details over a couple thousand years, maybe that's understandable. But to leave out the entire point, the central message of self-empowerment, that isn't just a miscommunication. That's a catastrophic failure. So you have to ask, how does a mistake that big even happen? Well, according to the scout, this wasn't just a case of everybody forgetting. No, the original message wasn't just forgotten. It was intentionally, systematically altered by a group he calls the Tempters. So this idea of a Tempters edit is absolutely key. The goal, the scout explains, was to replace the hard path of self-mastery with a much easier, much more passive message. It was a strategic move to get people to see themselves not as powerful co-creators, but as helpless, worthless sinners who desperately need to be saved. And let's be honest, you can totally see the appeal of this edited message, can't you? It's an incredible sales pitch. It takes all the personal responsibility off the table. You don't have to do the hard work of changing yourself because someone else has already done it for you. It's the promise of a massive reward with zero effort, and you can't deny how effective that is. This altered message, it didn't just stay a vague idea floating around. Oh no, it got solidified into a really powerful new belief system, which the scout presents as a formal creed, the creed of a group he calls the Absolvers. And if you look at this new creed, it just systematically dismantles every single pillar of the original teaching. My soul does not change. That's the exact opposite of personal transformation. Worshipping the Savior instead of trying to become like him, that completely removes the goal of self-mastery. Every single line here is a justification for doing nothing. It's a blueprint for passivity. The Savior's response to this is just so sharp and clear. He uses these great metaphors, saying you can't make rotting fruit good just by picking it, and you can't become wise just because someone hands you a diploma. Wisdom isn't a prize you get for just believing the right thing. It's the outcome of real effort and genuine self-transformation. Okay, but a belief system this big doesn't just survive on its own for thousands of years. It needs to be reinforced. And I just scout reports on the modern-day machinery that works around the clock to protect this altered narrative and to shut down anyone who questions it. So when the scout himself tried to share the original empowering message, he just hit a brick wall. And he wasn't just ignored, he was actively censored. He discovered this whole sophisticated system that's designed to control information and protect the altered story. He actually has a name for it, the censorship industrial complex. And here's how it works, according to him. The government can't legally censor people, so it basically outsources the job. It partners up with private companies, social media platforms, banks, you name it, and they do the dirty work. They police conversations, they take down content, and they can even cut off financial services for people they consider a threat. And all of this is reinforced by an academic system that's training the next generation to believe in and defend these very policies. So after hearing the full report, the twisted message, the new passive creed, and the censorship machine that protects it all, the Savior's reaction is just one of grim realization. The problem is so much deeper than he imagined. It's this moment of clarity that you can just feel sparking a new urgent resolve. And that leaves us with one last really provocative thought. This whole narrative, it's not just a story, is it? It's kind of a mirror. It forces us to ask whether our own beliefs, whatever they happen to be, are serving as a catalyst for our own growth and empowerment, or if they're just a comfortable excuse to wait passively. Are we active students in training, or are we just fans sitting in the crowd?